Here in 1 Corinthians 15:52, Paul mentions the last trumpet. And before we break this down, let me point out that the context of last here is the last order according to the statement here. So, according to the resurrection of the died ones in the presence of the Lord, which is the personally being present in the earth when he comes again, there are each in his own order, where obviously last is the last order. And if there's a last trumpet, there has to be a first trumpet. Hence 1 Thessalonians 4:16. And I'm sorry if I sound frustrated, but I keep seeing dozens of videos where people keep saying that the last trumpet is the rapture, and it's not. Now, I talk about these two verses here in many other videos. But the point being is that the mention of the trumpet here, of God here, according to the rise first, is not the last trumpet. This is the first trumpet. The first is referring to the order, the first order of the first watch time. When the Lord of the house comes, beginning at eventide, according to the parable of the doorseer, the doorkeeper, which eventide is the disappeared first watch time in Luke 12:38, according to those who come into the wedding feasts first, who rise first. Or let me briefly mention that the word rise here has to be distinguished from awakening, which I talk about in this video, 33. So rising is not the same as awakening in the resurrection. When the virgins awaken, they are still adorning their lamps before they enter the wedding feasts here, according to the second order, midnight, back here. Watch my pinned videos. Lamps to be made burning is prerequisite of entering the wedding feasts, where those who come in first did so first, where the second order is midnight here. The second door, where if you come back to Luke 12, you see a knocking, the relationship of knocking in the wedding feasts and doors, according to three orders, which the third watch time is the last trumpet order. Which brings us back to 1 Corinthians 15:52, where understand, when Paul mentions the died ones will be awakened here, this takes us back to 1 Thessalonians chapter 4. Paul is referring to these here in verse 13, concerning those made to slumber and saddened because they are having no expectation, who they will be led together with Christ in the third order, where when we come down here, Paul is dealing with the first and the second orders here. Watch my video 58, where I show how the we and the them of these two verses concern two watch time orders. Where although I haven't made any detailed videos talking about correctly cutting, when Paul says in an uncuttable moment, this is the conclusion of the third watch time, where the midnight order is the cut in two. Luke 12:46, again, all in conjunction with the parables encompassing the watch time here, watch time orders and the wedding feasts. All of what follows through here corresponds to this revelation of the orders of the watch times. Okay, so cut in two is prior to what is uncuttable, where we only find this Greek word once here. So the uncuttable moment concludes the blissful are those of the right hand when the first, second, and third orders all come into the completion. And then the fourth watch time unnamed are the cursed. So the statements here concerning the undeadenable and the incorruptibility pertains to the body of Christ as a whole now, including all of the orders into a completion where the cursed will not inherit undeadenable Aeonian life. Okay? Here, death is down drunk in those who are the blissful are those of Luke 12:38, which the cursed are not. In Hebrews chapter 2, verse 14, we see how the one having the holding power of the death, this is the diabolos, which that prepared for the diabolos is the cursed, which is the death, where my least brothers here complete the right hand into the last trumpet, least brothers. Third order completion. So the last trumpet is not the rapture, because the rapture is the second order. Watch video 77 in conjunction with these other two pinned videos here as well, where I explain how the Great Tribulation is also the third watch time, beginning after midnight.